Hey everyone, welcome back for another episode in Adventures of Comprehension. My name is Ciera Harris. I'm the author behind Ciera Harris Teaching, and I'm so excited to be here with you all today. Today we're going to be talking about mentor text that you can use to teach figurative language. All right, let's do this one first. This one is so cute, and I mean absolutely cute. So this one is called The World is Your Oyster. This book can be read in 3 minutes flat. Like, we're talking fast. And it's because every single page is actually written in figurative language, in a very short, one sentence, figurative language type way. So it goes into, and I'm not going to read the whole book, obviously, but it goes into this little boy, and he's talking about, some days your world is raining cats and dogs. So you can see right away we're getting into idioms, and you can see in the illustration that real cats and dogs are actually coming down. But of course, you would have the discussion of what does that actually mean, and what is possibly happening in the story so far. And then it goes into, and you feel like you're up to your neck in alligators. So again, you can see here that we're trying to set the tone that, life is hard, right? We're just raining cats and dogs, and you're up to your neck in alligators, and just things are difficult. And then it goes into, and you're moving at a snail's pace. So another great hyperbole here to just show the mood and setting the tone of the story. And I bet you can kind of guess where it goes. So from there, it talks about how, you don't want to give up. Let me see where, I'm trying to find in the book where it flips to. Here we go. So before you make a mountain out of a molehill and you chicken out, I love this book. Or throw yourself to the lions. So it's saying before you do all of that, remember what a little bird once told me. So again, every single page you can analyze and figure out, is this a hyperbole? Is this an idiom? Is this a metaphor? And it's a great way to really compare and contrast and see them side by side all in one text, and how one entire story can be told in figurative language. You need to grab the tiger by the tail and take the bull by the horns. So the kids have heard these. The majority of them they've heard in their own life, and they're going to be able to put meaning to all of them. Be an eager beaver. Love it. And the early bird that gets that worm. Because in the end, it's as plain as the hump on a camel's back. If you grin and bear it, always go the whole hog, and reach for the stars, the world is your oyster. Like, how stinking cute is this? And what great reminders for all of us, right? So I love using this story. It's a not a typical, text structure of a story, but it's fantastic to really look at, especially those 3 types of figurative language: metaphors, hyperboles, and idioms, which is what the book is mostly made up of, and really look and see the difference between them, because there's a lot of gray area in them. So one of the activities that I love to do with this afterwards is see if the students can kind of create their own miniature version of this type of story. So we'll research other common metaphors, other common idioms, and hyperboles that are not used in the story. We'll make very long lists of each one, and then the students can use those lists to kind of create their own version of the story. So super cute book. I love just kind of keeping this one out for everyone to go back and reread if they just need a pick-me-up. Sometimes if a student's having a bad day, I'll be like, hey, go read The World is Your Oyster. Just take 5 minutes, read the book, and have a little pick-me-up. And so everyone kind of needs this book in their life for multiple reasons. But, of course, it's fantastic to use when teaching figurative language. So The World is Your Oyster, must have. All right, next one is the Seashore Book. This is one that you may not have heard of, but it's a fantastic story. I love Charlotte. I always never know how to pronounce her last name. Zoloto, but she writes a lot of really good books. So the Seashore Book is a story about this little boy, and he lives not at the ocean. In fact, he lives somewhere very different from the ocean, and he's never been to the ocean. And so he asks this question to his mother, what is the seashore like? And the whole story is of her describing the seashore to her son. And so you can obviously see descriptive words and language tend to lean toward figurative language. And that's exactly what the book does. So I'm going to find some examples in here for you. This one here says, you lie down in a hot noonday sun now, and it feels as warm as a big soft cat covering you, taking away the chills of the waves. So lots of similes throughout the story, where the mom is clearly trying to relate what the boy knows in real life to the experience of being at the seashore. Let's see, let me find another one. The illustrations are really great too, like just beautiful. Here's one. I watch you sleep and you don't see two little sandpipers run past you. But when you wake up, you do see their claw prints like pencil lines in the sands. So clearly the little boy knows what pencils are. He knows that pencil lines are tiny, so he can help make that connection and visualize. But they're using a simile there to make that connection. Then it goes on, again, beautiful visuals here. Let's see. You stand and look at the ocean, far, far out. So far it seems like a toy little white boat skims over the water and disappears. So they're comparing there the boat to the being a toy. But lots of different figurative language in here. Mostly are similes. There is some, I want to say there's a hyperbole. I'm trying to see if I have it marked. And a metaphor towards the end of the story. But again, absolutely fantastic story. One that students can really relate to because I love this book because it really shows students why figurative language is used. You know, it helps to describe and compare to help bring images to life in the reader's mind. A lot of times readers don't have life experiences like the little boy in the story. But through descriptive writing and through figurative writing, the little boy is able to really feel and sense what it's like to be at the seashore. And so students can really understand the why behind figurative language through this story. So absolutely love this one. Definitely make sure to grab it, the Seashore Book. It is linked in the blog post that is in the video description. Hey everyone, so sorry to interrupt, but I want to make sure that you are loving the content coming from Ciera Harris Teaching on YouTube. So make sure if you are loving this to subscribe and also like and comment below. I would love to hear from you. All right, last one that I'm going to share today, and then I have an activity for you, is called Owl Moon. You've probably have heard of it. It's a very popular book, but if you have not used this book to teach figurative language, you are absolutely missing out. This one has loads of examples of figurative language. Just starting right off the bat, you can see here I've got all my marked. I like to use the clear, they're like sticky note tabs because then I can still read the story and remind myself where all the examples are. Because sometimes when you're reading, especially as adults, we don't completely realize that it's figurative language because it's a part of our metacognitive process not to, because we already understand all that. But as students, they don't, and sometimes we might forget to highlight one or stop and discuss one. But just on the first page, it says, it was late one winter night, long past bedtime, when Pa and I went owling. So clearly a lot of the students are not going to have experience with what owling is, but by the end of the story, they absolutely will. There was no wind. The trees stood still as giant statues, simile. And the moon was so bright the sky seemed to shine, hyperbole. Somewhere behind us, a train whistle blew long and low like a sad, sad song, another simile. So just in the first page, we already have 3 three distinct pieces of figurative language. And so again, the story goes on. This is the little girl's first time going owling with her father. She's always dreamed of it and is really excited to find the owls. They do end up finding them, of course, at the end. Spoiler alert. Sorry. My book's falling apart. But so you can see here, they find the owl, and it says, then the owl pumped its great wings and lifted off the branch like a shadow without a sound, simile. It flew back into the forest. Time to go home, Pa said to me. I knew then I could talk. I could even laugh out loud, but I was a shadow as we walked home. Metaphor. So, fantastic story. Again, love using this one to be really just go through. There's personification, there's hyperboles, there's metaphors, there's similes. I want to think. I don't remember if there are any other types. So this is a really good book to read and to analyze for multiple types of figurative language. Unlike the Seashore book, which was more similes based, Owl Moon has lots of different types. So if you're really wanting to focus on more than one type of figurative language at a time, this would definitely be your mentor text to check out. All right. Well, friends, I have shared with you 3 different books to use for figurative language. All 3 are linked in the blog post. So The World is Your Oyster, Owl Moon, and the Seashore Book. But before we go today, I want to share with you this really fun activity. This is one of the ways that I love to teach figurative language. I believe by the time we get to figurative language, it's usually later in the year, our students' abilities to read to learn are a lot higher. And so I like to try to get our students to learn about figurative language kind of on their own. And so what I have here are figurative language close reads. And so what I do is when we're going through the month, usually in the month of April because it's National Poetry Month, I will have my students go through these. And basically what they are, each one is a paragraph that teaches the students about what the topic is. So what is poetry? So this entire paragraph dives into what poetry is. So what the students do is before they begin, they kind of write out their own definition of, for example, poetry. Then they read it, and they read it 3 times because it is a close read. And then they define the vocabulary words. And then on the back, there are 2 poems, one on the left, one on the right, with comprehension questions for each one to then practice the actual skill. So there's one for poetry. There's ones for hyperboles. So this whole paragraph is teaching them what a hyperbole is. It's not a story. It's not examples. It's a true, like, I'm reading to learn about hyperboles. So it's a really unique way to teach figurative language. So again, down here at the bottom, they're defining words. And then on the back, there are 2 poems, and both poems have examples of hyperboles in them, and then the comprehension questions to focus on those hyperboles for each one. So there's one for idioms, there's one for alliteration, there's one for similes and metaphors together, and there's one for personification. So really fun way. The link to these are in the video description. If this would be a fun, unique way for your students to practice figurative language and to practice it in a unique way, definitely make sure to grab these. All right? All right. Well, if you have any questions about figurative language or other mentor texts, let me know in the comments below. I can't wait to hear which one you are going to read next. Don't forget, I shared 3 books with you today, but there are 3 more linked in the blog post. So make sure to head over and check that out as well. So I hope you had a fantastic time. I hope you grabbed a new book or 2 to read and to use for figurative language, and I cannot wait to hear how they go. Make sure to let me know in the comments below. All right. Thanks, friends. I'll talk to you later. Bye.